Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Believe in best.
Tonight on Our News, social services workers across the country protest. Health officials confirming a COVID death on Bimini. And a family mourns a man killed in an industrial accident. Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, Department of Social Services offices across the country were shut down for an hour today as employees used their lunch break to protest government's failure to address a myriad of concerns. Union leaders say they're prepared to up the ante if those issues aren't addressed within the next 7 days. Berthany McDermott reports.
The scene played out on New Providence, Grand Bahama, Abaco, and other islands as social services workers throughout the country came together to speak out on working conditions at the department.
Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Minister of Social Services, you're listening? I want my daughter to go to college. I need a house. I'm tired of paying rent. I'm tired of robbing Peter to pay Paul. Give me what I work for.
When Perry Christie retired, when Ingram retired, when all of them retired, they was able to get their money. Why in the world that we have to wait so long as Bahamians when we don't put in 25 years? We have to wait almost 2 years to get our money?
It is enough. We are not going to stand up and stand back and allow other departments, other governmental agencies receive something, and yet we do not get anything from the table.
They're threatening industrial action if Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis refuses to meet with them in the next 7 days to address their concerns.
There's going to be an industrial action. There's a fever. Solidarity! Solidarity!
Holding up signs that read "Slavery is over" and "Let me live," employees throughout the islands took to the streets on their lunch break. Union President Kingsley Ferguson says health concerns related to the pandemic topped the list.
Given the large volume of persons that they must serve on a daily basis, but they have no health insurance or risk allowance, the government must determine whether social service employees are essential workers.
Ferguson said more than half of social services staff are temporary workers, adding about 400 employees are still waiting to be regularized. Over on Grand Bahama, BPSU Northern Service Vice President Latoya Cartwright said workers' basic needs are being denied.
You have some of the persons who's working in Auckland's out of the community center with no running water. You have persons in South Andros and those areas who have to board a ferry in order to cater to the district, once again with no risk allowance. And then you even have the persons in Abaco who are still working with not even basic air conditions and fans.
Now, although the country is still rebounding from the crippling effects of the global pandemic, Ferguson says the union won't allow the government to use it as an excuse to not give the members what they are owed.
That's not a concern for us when you look at the Gussie May budget that the government has put forward. It includes everything and everyone else except the workers of this country.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Stalled negotiations leading to a major sick out at Bahamas Power and Light, with more than 200 employees calling in sick today. However, BPL executives say things are under control. Kyle Joaquin has the story.
BPL CEO said all of this happened after negotiations with the union kind of fell through. But he said his biggest concern right now is just keeping the lights on.
Numbers are really not where I'm focusing on. As long as I can deliver the service, that's where my focus is.
BPL CEO Whitney Hasty on the defense after over 200 BPL employees called in sick on Wednesday. It comes just a day after BPL execs say a counter-proposal for an industrial agreement was presented to the union and then leaked. While union officials told us over 200 employees somehow fell ill and didn't show up for work, Hasty said he didn't have a figure, but he didn't think it was that high. However, he said that's not his focus.
I'm more focused on making sure that you go home tonight and you got lights at your home tonight. That's where my focus is, because I can't control who calls and who doesn't call. All I can control is to make sure that the assets in that we're looking to deliver that service is available to deliver that service. And that's really where our focus is.
And so if employees choose to call in sick, in unison or in chorus, that's entirely up to them. At the end of the day, it's the organization's obligation to whoever to deliver service regardless of whatever we have now left.
One BPL official said from their account less than 50 called in sick. The industrial agreement expired back in 2018, and negotiations have been ongoing for some time now, with both sides looking to make certain changes. BPL Chairman Donovan Moxey says BPL hasn't made a profit in 15 years, and if the company tries to agree to the millions the union is asking for in its agreement, BPL would have to seek outside help.
We don't really have an extra dime to pay at all. And so if it's that we end up negotiating or agreeing to something, to be quite honest with you, any seven-figure number, we're going to have to seek help to cover that cost.
We reached out to Bahamas Electrical Workers Union leader Kyle Wilson. However, he said he wasn't feeling well either. But the question of the day is, what happens next, particularly with it being smack in the middle of summer? What if these employees continue to call in or industrial action heats up? How will this affect the power supply for BPL consumers?
Certainly, if the sick out goes beyond what we would anticipate, then yeah, you've got a contingency plan that is set to work for so many days. So for instance, we do have people that can work up to 16 hours a day based on the actual industrial agreement. We do have contingencies such that they can take breaks and then come back. But we don't want this to go on for days on end. Right?
We are doing everything we can to make sure that we deliver services to our customer.
For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Meanwhile, the Public Hospitals Authority confirming that more than 17 nurses who were scheduled to work at Rand Memorial Hospital in Grand Bahama also called in sick today. The PHA says the call-ins came just before the 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. shifts with no apparent communication from the nurses union. The alleged sick out comes at a time when the hospital faces a nursing shortage. Hospital Administrator Sharon Williams called it a major setback and says wards and inpatient services were affected. The Ministry of Health confirming 130 new COVID-19 cases in addition to one death on Bimini. A 58-year-old man reportedly died on Monday, bringing the total number of deaths to 286. Officials say 27 deaths are under investigation. Meanwhile, hospitalizations once again hitting triple digits. 100 COVID cases are now in hospital. In other news, PLP leader Philip Davis says the country is facing a public health emergency, but its leaders are shooting from the hip. Jasmine Brown reports.
The Progressive Liberal Party leader did not hold back as he hit out at what he calls the government's haphazard efforts to get a handle on the COVID-19 crisis.
Our health crisis is turning into a health catastrophe.
He said it's clear the administration does not know what it is doing and accused officials of flip-flopping on critical issues such as whether to end the state of emergency on August 13th.
Again, the flip-flopping is not surprising to us. If they don't take the time to plan, first of all, take their time to understand what are the issues relating to this virus, and have a fuller understanding of the tools necessary to arm ourselves and the Bahamian public to fight the virus, you will be continually having these, what I call, off-the-cuff responses.
Davis also pointed to the government's decision to lift the testing requirement for vaccinated passengers, noting that while vaccines help to prevent severe infection and hospitalization, vaccinated individuals can still pass the virus on to others. The opposition also called for more testing as well as information about hotspots and sources of transmission. He said this would help Bahamians make more informed decisions. On Friday, Health Minister Renward Wells announced a number of new restrictions in a bid to limit the spread of the virus. And tonight, the Prime Minister is expected to address the nation regarding the continued comprehensive measures his administration is taking to combat the recent surge in COVID-19 cases.
The fact that you have the Minister of Health espousing restrictions on one day and the Prime Minister have to come back 3 or 4 days later with the anticipation of there being more restrictions and or lesser restrictions, that tells us and speak to the fact of what we've been saying all along. They've been shooting from the hips. They've been reactive.
Now, Davis says he, like thousands of other Bahamians, will be watching the Prime Minister's address tonight to see what he has planned for the country in order to tackle the ongoing health crisis. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
The opposition leader holding fast to his prediction that the prime minister will call an early election. When asked if he thinks having an election would be a smart move amid an increase in cases, hospitalizations, and deaths, Davis said all safety protocols would have to be followed.
We are in this serious crisis with the virus, and it is his decision to make. The one thing, if we understand the virus and how it is transmitted, and if we are doing the things that are necessary to fight, for example, aggressive and a robust contact tracing regime, we'll be able to minimize the impact, what I call the deleterious impact of the virus.
The Prime Minister will address the nation tonight at 8 p.m. immediately following tonight's newscast. Watch on RTV or live streaming on Facebook. Well, we saw partly sunny skies today. Greg is in the Weather Center with the latest.
Thanks, Christina. Welcome, everybody, for your first look at weather. Warm temperatures once again today. We're having that summer-like regime in place. Temperatures managed to get into the 90s. We're settling into the mid-80s, 84 outside our studios. Few clouds. We'll call it warm and muggy. Your winds, we have a little bit of a breeze easterly at 6 knots and your field strike temperature in the mid to upper 80s. On our satellite view, upper level low spinning across the northwest Bahamas, generating some showers and isolated thunderstorms across that. That will move out. And then we have some Saharan dust that's going to be moving in. That will improve our conditions over the next couple of days. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, the wives of foreign fishermen want answers and new information on that Abaco plane crash. Stay with us.
The Great True True Bahamian Treasure Hunt is here, where you can win great vacation prize packages to hotels throughout the Bahamas. Watch our TV on weeknights between 6 and 11 p.m. for your 10 True True Bahamian clues. Take note of your answers and clues. You never know, you might see the same clue twice. Follow our TV originals on Facebook to submit your correct answers before 11 a.m. every Saturday. Watch our news Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. to see if you are the weekly winner. If you didn't win, watch for clues next week because the contest runs all summer long. Go to our TV Originals Facebook page for more information and contest details.
The cousin of one of the 3 men killed in an industrial accident on Grand Bahama is speaking out. Jillian Gray has that.
They say, you ain't hear what happened to your cousin? I said, what happened? Say, you ain't hear David die? I said, how he died? Then that shocked me. That shocked me. That really shocked me. I ain't nothing till now. I ain't nothing yet.
Felix Timothy is still shaken by the death of his cousin David Dorval, who lost his life along with 2 other men in an industrial accident on Grand Bahama yesterday. He recalls racing to the dirt road and seeing his cousin's body lying on the ground from a distance.
David is a hero. He's telling me David died as a hero. I say, how? He died as a hero. He said, the first man going in, after they don't see him, David going. After they don't see David, the supervisors are going behind David. The 3 of them died.
The men were preparing scrap metal for export at City Services Limited in Freeport. Police said the men, a Bahamian, a Dominican, and an American, were found unresponsive inside a floating tank. Timothy says the family wants answers.
Not really, but what I'm saying is, like, as I say, I bring lawyer. We're going to have to get lawyer. We don't just get him and bury. They only can bury him and call it that.
City Services said in a statement it deeply regrets the terrible loss of the 3 workers. Timothy described his cousin as a peaceful and humble man. He says the last time he spoke with him was last Saturday, and he'll be greatly missed.
Last week Saturday, I said, Dave, how you doing? He called me uncle. He ain't called me cousin, he called me uncle. He said.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jillian Gray.
In other news, the Bahamian wives of foreign fishermen who have been banned from working in the industry are pleading their case publicly once again after they say a letter to the Prime Minister went unanswered. Giorgio Bain reports.
We going through now a struggle. Each day he go out trying to find some sort of financial income.
Malvina Calderon hasn't worked since 2010 and depends on her husband Alvaro to make a living. So does Calderon's daughter, who is raising 6 children alone after losing her husband to COVID-19. However, changes to the Fisheries Act ban Calderon's husband and other non-Bahamians from working in the industry. The amendment also prohibits the foreign spouses of Bahamian women the right to fish commercially despite having spousal permits.
Somebody made a statement, where's your heart? Where's your soul? Where's your compassion? Where's the love? Okay, we are Bahamian women. We choose to marry whoever we choose. And so if we marry a foreign man, we didn't marry them for papers. I ain't gonna let nobody come into my country just to have a piece of paper.
The Bahamian wives of foreign fishermen wrote a letter to Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis on July 5th, sharing their plight and pleading for permission for their husbands to be allowed to return to work. However, 2 weeks later, they say no response.
My husband was the sole breadwinner of the family, and he's not working, so I have a little job. And the job that I have is not paying much, so it's really hard. And all we want is for our husband to have an opportunity to work.
A group of foreign commercial fishermen sought a temporary injunction against the government, but a judge refused to issue the injunction in June. Atherine Cabrera, who has been married for 12 years, says it's not fair for the amendment to be retroactive, as their husbands already have their work permits.
We get convicted notice to move out, so if he don't go to work, I don't know how I'll make it. So I really need the government to give them okay to go back to work.
The group has faced its share of criticism from Bahamians, but at the end of the day, Maria Jackson says they have to fight for the rights of their families.
A lot of them saying, well, okay, they could go into a different field. Yes, they could go into a different field. But look at each one of those men. They are old. They are not no young men. What people looking for young men to hire right now.
Reporting for our News, I'm Georgia Bain.
A Bahamian hurdler excited to hit the track in Tokyo. The details when our news returns.
The great True Bahamian Treasure Hunt is here, where you can win great vacation prize packages to hotels throughout the Bahamas. Watch our TV on weeknights between 6 and 11 p.m. for your 10 True Bahamian clues. Take note of your answers and clues. You never know, you might see the same clue twice. Follow our TV originals on Facebook to submit your correct answers before 11 a.m. every Saturday. Watch our news Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. to see if you are the weekly winner. If you didn't win, watch for clues next week, because the contest runs all summer long. Go to our TV originals Facebook page for more information and contest details.
This is our news. Welcome back. Police are still trying to determine if something illegal had occurred or was about to occur when two Bahamian pilots died in a plane crash near Treasure Key International Airport on Abaco earlier this month. Chief Superintendent Shanta Knowles says given the extensive damage to the airplane, investigators just don't have the evidence.
At this time, we don't have evidence. If you recall some photos that were circulating, you'd see the condition of the plane once officers and help got to that area. So it's difficult to determine whether or not anything, well, at this time, whether or not anything illegal was about to happen or had happened and may have been on that flight.
The investigation was handed over to police after the original pilots who flew the charter flight in from the Dominican Republic said that the plane was taken without their consent. The aircraft was registered to Texas-based company TransEnergy Inc. And with Olympic track and field set to begin on Friday, hurdler Devin Charlton is looking to make the most of her opportunity. Marcellus Hall is in Tokyo with the latest.
Welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. Sports brought to you here in Tokyo, courtesy of our friends over at J.S. Johnson. Well, swimming is done. That means the focus now shifts for Team Bahamas to the track and field competition, which, while though a few days away, the competitors are already gearing up. We caught up with one of them, Devin Charlton, as she gets ready for 110 hurdles. Here's what she had to say. For sprinter Devin Charlton, being here in Tokyo for the Olympics has been a journey in perseverance. Charlton, who competes in the women's 100-meter hurdles, made the Bahamas Olympic team for Rio in 2016, but sustained an injury prior to the competition and was unable to compete. 5 years later, she finds herself healthy and ready to represent her country and feeling pretty confident.
I'm pretty confident. I think all of that just like helped with my confidence. A few years ago, I was at a pretty low point, so I think this year I've just really built my confidence back up to a place where I know I can compete with these ladies, and I think I'm in really, really good shape. I've been having some good practice sessions, and so I'm pretty confident going into it.
With the time frame of the hurdles a little earlier in the schedule than usual, Devin says it will be good to get on the track and not have to wait as long as normal.
I'm really happy because, like I said, I'm just like excited to get out there. And so usually when I have to wait for the entire program to get through, and then my event is like one of the last ones, by that time I'm literally itching to get on the track. And so really happy that it's one of the first events.
Charlton also talked about having to deal with the safety protocols due to COVID-19.
We have an app that tracks our movements throughout the village, and we have to update our health conditions, take our temperature every day. And so it's just little things you have to be mindful of. You have to sanitize, wear gloves when you enter the dining hall, like a whole lot of things. But I think if that's the price to be able to have the games and be able to compete, then, it's small.
So as Devin and the rest of the track team get ready for a competition beginning on Friday, we will, of course, be right here to give you updates and, of course, insights onto everything that happens once the track action gets underway. Reporting from Tokyo, Japan, courtesy of J.S. Johnson once again, I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you.
Thanks, Marcellus. Up next, Leno Trust names a new managing director. Stay with us.
The great True True Bahamian treasure hunt is here, where you can win great vacation prize packages to hotels throughout the Bahamas. Watch Our TV on weeknights between 6 and 11 p.m. for your 10 True True Bahamian clues. Take note of your answers and clues. You never know, you might see the same clue twice. Follow Our TV Originals on Facebook to submit your correct answers before 11 a.m. every Saturday. Watch Our News Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. to see if you are the weekly winner. If you didn't win, watch for clues next week, because the contest runs all summer long. Go to Our TV Originals Facebook page for more information and contest details.
Welcome back to our news. Mostly sunny conditions midway through the week. Greg is back in the Weather Center with a look ahead.
Thanks again, Christina. Welcome back, everybody, for your second look at weather. That high-pressure system remains persistent across the Bahamas. That's keeping us rather quiet in terms of our beaching and boating forecasts. You'll see that in marine forecast, but an upper level low that's spinning across the northwest Bahamas, generating a few isolated showers and thunderstorms across the northwestern islands. That will continue to move out towards the west. Saharan dust will move in. That will continue to keep us very warm over the next couple of days. Tropics remaining quiet. Nothing really happening out there. Beaching and boating forecast for the northwest and central Bahamas tonight through tomorrow. Your winds will be east-southeast, the south part at 10 to 15 knots seas, 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. While the southeast Bahamas caution flag remains in place, east to southeast flow, 15 to 20 knots, seas running 4 to 6 feet over the ocean. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through Monday. That's a look at our weather. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Greg. Private banking veteran Sharon Colebrook has been named Leno Trust Managing Director. Colebrook, a respected trust practitioner with certification in anti-money laundering, is Bahamas Financial Service Board's Professional of the Year. Leno Trust Director Sean Longley says Colebrook's appointment follows the retirement of Diane Bingham, who will serve on the board. He says Bingham leaves a very large footprint to follow, but he's confident that Colebrook will meet the challenge enthusiastically. Well, thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Christina Dragovich. Stay tuned. The Prime Minister's address is up next. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.